All right, so this Grayscale Trust is one that we really want to look at today. Some people are looking both on a high, some people are looking on a low in terms of its impact on Bitcoin. My name is Paul Barron. Welcome back to TechPath. Let's dive into this a little bit around where Bitcoin's potential could be with this trust essentially coming loose here over the next couple of months. And some people are looking at this as a very positive thing. Some people, analysts, are looking at it as a negative thing. We're going to take the positive route and then give you a price prediction here and where this may go in July and August for Bitcoin. And I think it has a bigger implication on the breakout. And we've had a few people also kind of moving in this direction to where maybe this is the one or a handful of things that could help Bitcoin get past that $40,000 barrier that it's really faced over the past few months. And I think this may be the reactor that it needs to make a move. I want to jump to trade the chain real quick. Take a look at where Bitcoin sentiment is holding out today. Here's the 1 day, which is a little bit soft. As you can kind of see, sentiment's flat right here as the price has been moving downward. Let's take a look at the 7 day. You can kind of see the up and down movement here. Nice rise right here. Again, we use this tool. We do see a little bit of a fall off here in early trading this week, but we use Trade the Chain often for sentiment analysis. Then we layer in our content and our data on top of that to hopefully pull together a program that kind of puts these market movers together for you. These market movers, just remember, we compile a whole bunch of news information, we apply some data analysis to it, and then we give you guys something to work from in terms of your research plan. Remember, it's not investment advice, so always do your own research and get out there and really kind of look at a variety of solutions and sources to kind of get down to the point that you want, and that is getting into your investments. Let's talk a little bit about where this whole cashing out could go. This was from CoinDesk. Investors cashing out of Grayscale Bitcoin Trust might bring a market boost. This is where they think the potential is, and this is just here recent, early July. Bitcoin Trust, Bitcoin get a boost for this month from the expiration of the investors' restrictions on the sale of Grayscale Bitcoin Trust, the GBTC, which is basically the largest cryptocurrency fund right now. Some digital assets and investors say it's possible that some of these investors might need to enter the market to buy Bitcoin. So this is essentially going to put a bit of a market push, maybe a run on Bitcoin to basically repay the cryptocurrency loans they used to finance their original purchases on the GBTC shares. So this is where I think a lot of people look at this playing into it. There is lots of bearish chatter around the unlocks, which I think is going to roll into essentially around where the debt is going to flow, ultimately the transition into spot buying, which is what they're saying here. This was a different resource, Amber Group, that kind of basically said this is kind of the potential direction here. The view is a bit contrasted with what was published last month by JP Morgan, which were very bearish on where they thought this was going to move, and that was JP Morgan. So they think selling of shares over the 6-month lockup period during June and July has emerged as an additional headwind for Bitcoin, where the JP strategist led by this guy, Nicholas, I'm not even going to try that one, wrote the dynamic would lead to a downward pressure on the GBTC prices and on Bitcoin markets more generally. So that's kind of where there's two schools of thought. Some people do think there is going to be some downward pressure, and then there are schools that are moving and looking at this in upward pressure in terms of spot buying that could really open up the kind of the gates and release some pressure off of that barrier that we've been able to hit. I want to kind of remember, and this is, have you remember, a couple of things that happened earlier this year. This was a piece back in May where Digital Currency Group basically went out, parent of Grayscale, said it's authorized the purchase of up to 750 million worth of lagging shares of the Bitcoin Trust. And that was up from 250 million level earlier. Then they went back in, and here we are in June, and authorized basically another 50 million in shares of Grayscale's Ethereum Classic Trust. We're going to get into Ethereum Classic and where we think that's going. But I wanted to kind of show you their actions and movements are definitely very heavy in terms of this direction, in terms of the crypto trust itself. But the fact that they continue to put a lot of faith in this shows us that there is a lot of movement that I think is getting ready to happen, and this may be the last domino that is in the pendulum that needed to swing before we see a release. And a lot of people have been pointing to mid-July as the time frame of when this potentially could happen. I want to jump over to our TradingView chart because this is something that was kind of interesting. We took a little bit of a zoom out here on the chart, and I wanted to look at this dip right here, which was a date from July 7th through July 8th, and we pulled a picture of sentiment on Bitcoin at 59.37. Amplification was at 54.72. And then we took another one right here on July 9th and 10th, where sentiment rose on Bitcoin, even though we're seeing some downward movement. I'll explain that in a second, of 61.59. And then the amplification also rose to 60.33. Now, what's happened here is that Bitcoin has gone a little bit flat. We see a little bit of lower trading this week, but the amplification and also the sentiment expectation of Bitcoin going up due to the Grayscale Trust situation is actually positive. So a lot of people are looking at this yellow line right here, which is, we did a little overlay of sentiment on the terms around the Grayscale Trust and Bitcoin. So people are looking at this as a very positive direction for what will happen to Bitcoin. And that, of course, floats into this amplification zone that is this purple chart you see here, which could put our price prediction around 39K in the mid to late July period of time. And of course, there's a lot of open water there with this amplification. We're not really projecting out that far on amplification yet, but this could definitely take us up past or right to the $50,000 barrier, which I think is going to be the one area that will really start to see Bitcoin really start to pop. Once we get past that 40K barrier, many think that the Grayscale Trust is one of the last things to fall. We've already seen the FUD come in from China. We've seen the issue with ESG really put some pressure. The interesting thing is that Bitcoin has been able to stabilize and hold the line across all of this FUD, and Grayscale is kind of this last little, element before we could see the $40,000 price target really start to get tested and surpass where Bitcoin is going in the near, hopefully in the next 60 days. And we still have people out there, including, we just had Alex Mashinsky on the show, and his position is pretty strong. He kind of collaborated with us on this very point, is that Grayscale could be the last domino. And his prediction is in the 140 to 160 range by the end of the year. So I think we need that ramp up, which is going to be July, August, rolling into September, where we'll really start to see some really big action, I think, in Bitcoin and where the market is moving. Here's the key thing, though. We've got a little bit of action coming in from Elizabeth Warren, and we've got to keep a close eye on where the Fed and the SEC land around cryptocurrency in general. There's still a lot of activity around this that could cause another round of FUD to really kind of surpass. Now, whether or not it hits Bitcoin in the 40 to 50 range or the 50 to 60 range, my expectation is that we're going to see this movement happening very soon. I'm very bullish on where this is moving for Bitcoin. If you are in and had the opportunity to get in at the $30,000 mark or even a little bit under, you're in a good position right now, because I think this is the elevator ride we've been looking for, and it's coming very soon. Too many things are starting to move. There's too many options and potentials happening in the stablecoin markets that help support this. And then also we see the amount of FUD really starting to wane in terms of how this direction is moving. So clear skies ahead, I think, for Bitcoin. I'm definitely looking to all of this as a potential good indicator. It's a very bearish indicator for Bitcoin, and I think this is the direction. And the Grayscale Trust, I think, is the one to watch very closely. So sentiment, need to keep an eye on those over the next few days throughout this week and on into next week, because I think that's going to be the factor we need to see before we start seeing potentially a little bit of a rise here with Bitcoin. All right, if you're listening in over on the podcast right now, make sure and tune in to us on some of the other channels. Come on over here to YouTube. If you guys are not maybe on YouTube, this is your chance to just jump right over, search Paul Barron Network. You'll be able to find us over there. And of course, hit us some stars over there on the podcast network. We really appreciate that. And of course, here on YouTube, make sure and subscribe and give us a like. If you like this content, you want more of this, maybe you want more content and you have an idea for a show, hit it down in the comments below. We actually listen to our readers and listeners, viewers, and we look at what you're saying, because a lot of times we'll dive into certain research based on what you guys are giving us in terms of direction points. We'll go put in the research, go put in the time, and hopefully come back to you with something that works for you. Again, if you want to hit me up on Twitter, it's just @Paul Barron. If you have an idea for a show, that's a great place to reach me. Also, you can hit us up on email, just producer@revernetworks.com. I'll catch you next time right here on TechPath.